Welcome back, boys. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue 9 CV. And tomorrow at 4:30 PM UK time, we play against Liverpool in the Premier League. Now, it's a pretty interesting situation for both clubs because they both lost their European games this weekend. However, when it comes to tomorrow's game, none of that's going to matter. Both teams want to win it. In today's match preview, I'm going to break down the predicted lineup. I'm going to talk things tactics, press conference, as well as giving my general thoughts on tomorrow's big game. But quick plug, before I do that, thank you to everyone that has downloaded the OneFootball app. And thanks for showing love. You know, I see the comments. I see you guys telling me how convenient you find it. And my question is, if you haven't downloaded the OneFootball app just yet, what are you waiting for? I'm telling you, I use it every single day. It's that convenient. So if you guys want it for yourselves, you'll find it in the link in the description below. And now we get straight into things. Now we start with the press conference review. Lampard confirmed that there are hopes Mason Mount may play in tomorrow's game. However, he said that he would have to call it later on that day. Now for me, you know, I think that we've been affected quite a lot by rushing players back when they don't need to. Mason's young. I think it'd be cool to maybe wait this game out or potentially come on as a substitute in the second half. You know, his pace, his energy, it could be needed in tomorrow's game. Who knows? Maybe he may get an injection to help him play through the pain in tomorrow's game. But as I'm saying, let's not rush Mason back. We can't afford for him to get any more possible injuries throughout the season. Anyway, we move on. Lampard confirmed that Kante is healthy now, but doesn't know whether he's fully match fit. And for me, I don't think it's a good idea to risk using N'Golo again. Overstraining him is what got him his last injury in the first place. On more positive news, Hudson-Odoi was next on the agenda. Lampard saying that he's spoken to him since pre-season, I told you guys that already, to tell him about his plans for the season. He said that he's expecting Cam to be hungry when he plays after seeing how successful guys like Mason and Co have been throughout this season. We move into more negative news. The talk turned to Twitter's statement on a racist abuse that Tammy Abraham faced on the platform. Lampard was unmoved by Twitter's statement, saying that it's not right and it needs to be tackled. And yeah, you guys, you know, that incident was pretty embarrassing. You know, it's a sad indictment on us fans and the club in general. And it really told me, wow, online trolling really is some next level stuff. There's no limits. People don't have any limits. And it's getting to a point now where the platform holders may need to have these accounts face more liable action. You know, something needs to be done. It's great to know that Tammy didn't let this incident affect his football. Instead, it seemed to have galvanized him because he scored a ridiculous amount of goals over the past few games, and long may that continue. You guys, on that note, we move straight into the predicted lineup for today's video. Guys, on that note, we move straight into the predicted lineup. As you guys can see, I've gone for us using a 3-4-3 system. My reasons for this are, number one, there's no N'Golo Kante. And the main reason why Frank is using a back three system is so we defend between our lines much better. You know, throughout the season, it hasn't been our defenders that have cost us conceding goals. It's been the entire team's shape and compactness. It hasn't been good enough. Our central midfield players are too prone to leaving their positions to close down an opposition player. And if you do that, you're only going to leave massive gaps in behind. And then there's only so much defenders can do once they're getting overloaded through the central areas. And of course, the other reason is that if we use a back three, it means that our fullbacks are going to get better defensive support. It means that guys like Tamori and Zuma will be the guys helping to defend between the half spaces even more. And against a team like Liverpool that love to operate in those areas, you need to make sure that you're keeping your shape and you're not getting caught out of position. I mean, there's even more reasons as to why I think we are going to use a 3-4-3. Let's look at our midfield options. You know, we only currently have Kova and Joel Jr. right now. Ross Barkley, but you know, is Ross Barkley a viable candidate you're really going to turn to in a big game like this? You know, if there's no Mount playing, if there's no Kante playing, it means that our defensive output is going to be coming down a lot more. We're not going to be able to win those key 50-50s, you know, those key tackles in the transition to help us kickstart our own counter-attacks of ourselves. So by having a back three, and if we are going to use a counter-attacking style against Liverpool, hopefully it's going to reduce the workload that our midfield players are going to need to have in tomorrow's game. To end on the predicted lineup part, you guys, I think that we may see the return of Pulisic back in the team if Mason Mount isn't fit enough. I have a hope that maybe Mason Mount may come on as a substitute as the game's going on. I thought his impact in the second half when he came on in the Super Cup was amazing. You know, he came on at the right time where he needed runs in behind and legs to really try and counter against Liverpool. And if he has a similar effect in the game tomorrow, then happy days. Still getting back to Pulisic, with him playing on the left-hand side, having support of Emerson alongside him, that could help him get back to his very best. You know, I think that he doesn't suit playing alongside Aspie. There's not enough defensive support. You know, there's not enough men around him to link up with. I think if he's able to play on the left-hand side where he receives the ball out wide, but then he can cut inside and link up with Willian and Tammy Abraham in those central areas. So we could see the return of him. And you guys, that's going to bring it into the predictor lineup part for today's video. In the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you like the lineup you see? And if you don't, what lineup would you prefer to see? And give the reasons why. Now we move on to the tactical segment for today's video. And here I'm going to explain what we can do to beat Liverpool in tomorrow's game. Now, I see us using a 3-4-3, and of course Liverpool are going to use their normal 4-3-3 formation. However, using a back three system means that we are able to cope with how Liverpool play between the lines. Now, I'm always talking about this area non-stop in all my match previews because this area is one of the key, most crucial areas now in modern day football. It's an area in which the big teams like to play in because that's how you're able to create runs in behind, third man runs, and create stretched, and most importantly stretch, opposition teams' defensive lines. And Liverpool love to play in these areas and they're very effective. Basically, FIRMINO will drop deeper, and this then allows guys like Mane and Salah to make infield central runs, and most times they like to make runs at the same time to really disorganize the opposition team's defensive line. Now what's supposed to happen is, as they're doing this, their fullbacks provide runs from deep, becoming passing options that also help in stretching an opposition team's defensive line. And this means that whenever the Liverpool players are on the ball and making runs, there's constant movement in the final third for them to constantly be able to find a man. Now, depending on the strength of the opposition, Liverpool like to play with a bit more control and a bit more balance. So what you may tend to see is their midfield players, someone like Wijnaldum and Jordan Henderson, making those forward runs out wide diagonally. These guys then take up the positions out wide, meaning that their fullbacks can tuck in field a bit more, keeping their defensive shape in behind. And the main reason why Klopp does this is because he wants to limit the spaces in behind his fullbacks. He understands that with how they play, Liverpool need to bomb forward. They need to create those passing options and they need the width from their fullbacks. And by playing like this, obviously it means that they are going to leave some space in behind, and there's only so much that their midfield can do to help out their back too. And this, you guys, is an area on the field I see us having a possible advantage. I think our approach for tomorrow's game needs to be a counter-attacking plan. You know, we need to time when we counter-attack Liverpool. We need to wait for them to all flood their players in our own half before we break in behind them. And with how Liverpool play now, because Klopp is trying to find that, you know, control in his team, this means that you're able to, you know, win the transition battle and kickstart your counter-attacks. And this point falls in nicely with us and what we can do to beat Liverpool. Now, there's a big bonus that Emerson's going to be fit for the game tomorrow. He's definitely been missed. I mean, the way he helped us in the final third is too important. And he's definitely someone that Christian Pulisic may need down that left-hand side. Same thing with Aspie. You know, at times he's still too reluctant to really get to the byline and get forward. And, you know, you're hoping now that he has a defensive partner behind him in Tomori. He is going to play with more confidence. You know, that's one thing we need to see, because in these moments where we do counter-attack against Liverpool, we need to make sure that we counter-attack with confidence and we're stretching our defensive line to its fullest extent. Still though, you guys, to end this video, I do want to talk about our defensive plan against Liverpool. Now, one area which has been really affecting us for so long throughout this season, it's been the main reason why we constantly concede goals, has been how we defend these spaces here. And as I've said, in man like Jorginho and Cover, listen, they have their credentials, but they're not defensive masterclasses. You know, they allow runners in behinds, and too often their main issue is that these guys are too susceptible to, you know, trying to be progressive and, you know, close people down and lead the press. And what they tend to do is, if they don't win their tackles, there's massive gaps in between. Now, the beautiful thing about using a back three system is, now we have another player behind, and now he's able to face the play. So what this means is, you guys, is we now have 3 players that can go 1v1 against Liverpool's attack. And against Valencia, we saw glimpses of this when we defended against Valencia on the counter-attack. I thought we did that very well. And one aspect of which we were so good at doing was covering runs and following each other's man. With our back 3, you guys, with our back 3, we have so much pace. It's ridiculous. So much pace. They've got very good positional awareness as well. And when they have support around them from guys like Azpilicueta and Emerson, when these guys are able to drop deep to form a back 5 at times as well, it's going to mean that, of course, one of these guys will have the confidence to step out when he needs to, if he needs to close a man down in these areas. And this is the most effective area to stop. When Firmino came on, you guys, in that second half against Liverpool in the Super Cup, he was playing in these areas, and that was when Liverpool were able to get back in the game because we had no man here to help deal with him. Now we have that extra man playing in our defence, in that defensive line here. It's going to mean that we're able to, you know, properly deal with Liverpool's counter-attacks, if of course we get in any of those unfortunate moments. And the last one I do want to make is how we can help limit Liverpool's threat out wide. Now, this was an area I was talking about during the match preview for that game in the Super Cup. You know, guys like Robertson and Trevor Arnold, you know, these guys are very good at what they do, and they really help Liverpool do what they do in the final third. They're experts at this. However, as I was mentioning, with Klopp liking to use much more controlled measures, it means that these guys have to be a bit more disciplined with how they play, and this is where we could get that advantage. Now, one way to limit their threat going forward is how we occupy the half spaces. Let me guys just show you a quick brief example here. So these areas here, positioning in football is always key, you guys, because if you pick up good positions, it means an opposition player in that vicinity is forced in a dilemma where he has to deal with this situation or let one of his men deal with that himself. And with the positioning of Willian and Pulisic here, it forces their fullbacks to have to monitor them, because if they don't, you guys, they leave space in behind, and that's how we're able to breach their defensive line. Another way in which we can help limit the threat of their fullbacks would be how we use our wingbacks in the game. Now, the great thing about our wingbacks now is that they do have that defensive support behind them. Let's say, for example, Azpilicueta. Azpi wants to close down and press Robertson. He's going to be able to do that. He moves up higher, taking up a higher position. Tomori moves up behind him. This way, Azpi has the full confidence knowing that he can press on the front foot, because when it comes to Azpi in defending, that's his game. He loves to close down his man and get as tight and make it as uncomfortable as possible. He hasn't been able to do that though, because he hasn't had that right defensive support behind them. With Tomori now, who's looked very solid with Azpi down the right hand side so far, he has that pace in behind to help Azpilicueta out, and this is one way in which we won't become susceptible to overloads from Liverpool down the wide areas. To wrap things up, you guys, against Liverpool, we need to be smart, we need to be patient, we have to play a mature game against them. We have to keep our defensive shape, our defensive balance. Of course, there's times where we have to control the game. We can't afford to be too gung-ho. We can't afford to leave gaps, especially gaps in the transition when Liverpool win the ball back and start a counter-attack. That is the last position we want to be in. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm EFC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you, man, tomorrow.